everyone, and welcome to our post-game interview updates. I'm your host, Lauren Kalil. Our show is brought to you by Reebok, the Nano X2, the official shoe of fitness. It was created with the training community front and center, gathering feedback from its athlete partners, local gyms, fitness influencers, and more to create a product that all athletes can thrive in. Make sure to check out a link in our description so you can get your hands on a pair. On today's episode, we have two-time CrossFit Games champion in the men's upper extremity division, Casey Acree and Alec Zirkenbach of Adaptive Training Academy. How are you guys? Good to have you here.
Great.
Great. Thanks.
Alec, Casey, have you been able to take some time off after the games to decompress, enjoy some family time, anything like that?
Yes, absolutely. I think I have worked out a total of 8 times since the games. So I am definitely operating under the mindset that if I don't really feel like doing anything, then I'm just not going to. I definitely needed some rest time after the games and have, gotten to be with the family a little bit more, spend a little more time in my business, coaching football and all the other things that I have going on in my life.
And so when it comes to some of that downtime, you were saying that you got done with the CrossFit Games and then basically immediately started coaching football again.
Yeah. I was right that week right after the games was when our season officially started. So that has kind of taken the place of the amount of time that I was spending training every single day has kind of been, reallocated to coaching.
Is it high school football?
Yes. Yep.
Do any of your athletes know like how CrossFit famous you are?
I think maybe a little bit. There's a couple of them that kind of know about it a little bit. Most of them know. They just think I am a guy that just works out a lot. That's pretty much it.
You got to show them some of your videos like on Instagram or YouTube and like really get them into it.
I'm too modest. I don't want to like make them think I'm trying to show them up or anything.
Okay, Alec, that's when you then have to like swoop in and be like, hey, do you guys know that like this guy's really fit?
Oh yeah. I mean, Casey is probably the most modest, humble athlete there is. I mean, considering he won every single event this past year and is just like, oh yeah, I was joking with him before the swim event because he had told me before. He's like, I was like, how do you feel about this one? He's like, yeah, I don't really like swimming. I don't practice it as much as I should. It's not like my favorite thing to do. And I was joking with him about the Reebok incentive program, about the wearing the shoes. I was like, hey,
Yeah.
you're not getting that money in this event, are you? And Casey's like, well, I considered wearing my shoes in the pool, but I don't know if they would have permitted that to happen. But he ended up winning that event anyway. So he's just a stud, to be honest.
Honestly, I think that that's more impressive to me of you winning every single event at the games than having 2 titles. Like first place across the board. Like Casey, are you more proud about taking home first in every one or like winning the games 2 years, or what are your thoughts on that?
I don't know. I mean, I try not to focus, too much on the results. What really I look at this and see, like, to me, is that I know that my training's working. That's like my feedback to know that the way that I'm preparing is appropriate and that it's allowing for me to, of course, obviously perform at, the highest level that I possibly can. I mean, I'm definitely proud of what I'm capable of doing. But like I mentioned, I'm humbled by, just being able to get to be there and to represent not just myself, but my family and where I'm from, as well as all the adaptive athletes. And so I'm happy to get the opportunity to put the public eye out there a little bit on the adaptive divisions and what we're capable of.
So how do you feel that this year compared to last year? And this is kind of a loaded question because I'm asking in 2 different ways, like as an athlete, but also as an athlete in a new division. Like how do those experiences, how did they change from one year to the next?
Yeah, I mean, just from last year's games to this year, I think that with last year being the first year, there was a lot of simplicity in what we did. What I've always said is that as much as possible, whenever I go and compete, I obviously want to perform and do well, and I want to win. I go into every competition and every event with the goal of trying to win. But I've also always said that I want to be challenged, and I want to be able to express what I'm capable of. And I feel like from year one to year two, the events that we did, the total volume that we got to do, really made a pretty big jump as far as complexity, intensity, just kind of being able to test us in an even broader, range of events and modalities. So you can see the progression from year one to year two with them, Alec, as well as the rest of the CrossFit team, having an idea and understanding of what we are capable of as athletes. So that to me made it probably the most enjoyable competition experience that I've ever had, because I felt like even though I was winning the events, I was still being challenged, and I was being tested, personally, and that's enjoyable. I think as athletes and CrossFit athletes especially, that's kind of what we want. We want to be challenged, and we want to be tested, and we train in a way that we want to get to express the things that we're preparing for. And so I feel like the growth there is really, we're really starting to see that. And it was definitely noticeable. So yeah, best competition experience that I've ever had for sure.
Oh, and that's so cool to hear. Alec, we'll get to your role with the Adaptive Training Academy, but first you also have a really significant role in helping the CrossFit Games team with the adaptive division. What were some of the feedback or ideas that you took from last year that helped improve the overall experience for the adaptive divisions this year?
Yeah, for sure. And I do want to mention how inclusive CrossFit is looking to be, especially for the adaptive athletes. I know that sport leadership all the way up are champions for the adaptive divisions. They really want to make sure that they have every opportunity to compete on similar or the same stages as any other athlete. And the one show of that is hiring me on full time with CrossFit to be the adaptive sports specialist. So in the first 2 years of the sport, or up until the open of last year, we were just consulting. So Adaptive Training Academy and Kevin Ogar and everybody on the outside that was part of our team helping just from the outside consulting in. And we've been advocating for these divisions creation for a long time, but we're kind of on the outside just providing guidance. And now I have a seat at the table with the sport leadership and advocating for the adaptive athletes in the adaptive divisions. So, and I know the adaptive community wants things to grow a little bit faster. We all want 20,000 divisions, and we all want representation at every stage. Trust me, I'm banging the table every time I get a chance to let sport leadership know, and they're tired of hearing me say it. They all are 100% bullish on this. They want it to grow and mature properly, though. So, but yeah, the growth is going to happen, and now that we have into communication with sport leadership and making things happen, I'm the advocate for anybody. So anybody has comments, questions, and ways to improve the adaptive divisions, that's what I'm here for. And the creation of the Divisional Athlete Council. Now we have representatives in the community be able to work with the Divisional Athlete Council, and having their voices being heard and brought up through the community as well. So, I mean, that happens in all the divisions as well, but just know that adaptive divisions have representation there on that council too. I don't think I answered your question. I think I went off on a tangent there.
That's okay. It gave us more insight to like some of the things you do, but when, do you work with athletes like Casey?
Yeah, I mean, I had my own CrossFit gym, and I had a rec therapy program with a local naval hospital. That's how I learned to work with other people with disabilities. I myself have a disability, and then through the creation of the training course. So that was the first kind of intro into CrossFit, was creating the adaptive training course for CrossFit. We served as a specialty course up until 2019, when all the specialty courses became independent. That's when we created Adaptive Training Academy, and we've been running that course. Now it's called the Adaptive and Inclusive Trainer Certification Course still up to this day. And that's where Casey serves on the seminar staff as well. So
Mhm.
not only is he a world champion coaching his own athletes, but he's also serving to educate the new trainers and new athletes to provide more opportunities for people with disabilities training in CrossFit or any outside of CrossFit too. We have a lot of people coming to the course that are not specifically CrossFit. But my role for the adaptive sports specialist is to work with BOS, work with sport leadership to ensure that we are providing the right, first off, eligibility and classification system, so we know who is able to compete and athletes are competing against as like peers as possible in their divisions, and then also adapting the workouts from whether it's the open, the semifinals, or into the finals, so that they're appropriate as possible for each division, and ensuring that those athletes are competing safely, and we're replicating the stimulus that we wanted to from BOS coming down.
Sure. Maybe I needed to be a little more clear. I'm wondering if like you work with athletes in the adaptive division to help like add tweaks year to year.
Oh, most definitely. I'll tell this to anybody I can. I have an open door policy when it comes to being that representative for the adaptive division. So anybody who wants to talk to me or provide feedback can easily do that through email. It's adaptive at CrossFit Games email. They can email me. I'm happy to set up a Zoom or a phone call. Part of my role is to listen to the community and take feedback. So I'm happy to do that, and we do that also through the Divisional Athlete Council. So I'll listen in on that meeting and be there to listen to those athletes gathering feedback from the community and bring it up too.
So looking at last year compared to this year, what were some of those big ticket items that you're like, okay, for 2022, we need to improve X?
Yeah, I mean, one, eligibility. I know everybody wants eligibility and classification to be more readily understood. And we did update the adaptive athlete policy, which is the guiding document for eligibility. So we added more specific minimum impairment criteria and documentation requirements to that to make that better. And we're going to make a huge, massive upgrade this next year as well. The next would be providing more opportunity for competition. So year one, there was just the same three divisions, upper, lower, and neuro, went from open to games. This year, everybody had an opportunity to compete in a secondary stage of competition. So every division that didn't get to compete last year, because there was no finals for the other 5 divisions,
Right.
they all got virtual finals, and they did their virtual final the same time as upper, lower, neuro did their semifinal. So everybody had some advanced stage of competition, and then adding the semifinal to the upper, lower, neuro provided a better opportunity to find the right athletes to go to the games. Because as you know, like the open is meant to be as inclusive as possible for the community of CrossFit, but it's also the first stage of competition, which is, it's tough to do both of those at the same time, to find really challenging, great workouts, but also be inclusive to everybody. So adding a second stage of competition, I think better furthers to know that we found the fittest on earth, because we had a second stage to filter people through that. And I know that the community wants representation of every division at every stage of competition, and that is well understood by the sport leadership. That's something we're definitely pushing for to make that happen as soon as possible. Some of the constraints involved in that are in Madison. We still have Madison next year, and we have the space and the way that things are set up already are the way that's kind of what we're limited to. But I know that leadership going to wherever we're going to go in 24 is looking at a venue that can host more floors or more opportunity to have more chances for more people, more divisions to compete. And so that's one of their objectives in looking for a new space as well.
Casey, what are some of your thoughts on the overall format of the season and the way that like the adaptive athletes filtered into qualifying for the CrossFit Games?
Yeah, I mean, Alec kind of, hit the nail on the head right there, and that having that second stage as a minimum, I think was valuable in ensuring that, the athletes that are qualifying for the games are the top 5 that really should be there. To add any more to that, any more qualification stages, I don't think is necessary at this point, because the total pool of athletes that are signing up for the open is just not quite large enough for a third qualification stage or something like that, like what the elite individuals go through. It's probably not necessary. So to me, just like what Alex said, having that open, that we can cast that large net, that it can be inclusive, but then you're still able to narrow down to that secondary stage of the top competitors from that division, go into a much more challenging, difficult, higher skilled, higher intensity qualification stage, and then taking that the top 5 athletes from that stage to the games. In my eyes, is appropriate, and I think that it's just the right amount of testing to know that you're getting the right athletes to the final stage of competition.
Sure. So when we look at specifically the Adaptive Training Academy, Alec, can you kind of give us an idea of, for people who may not know, what exactly do you do and how does that move the needle forward to transition into athletes like Casey at the CrossFit Games?
Yeah, for sure. So like I said, we were born from providing the adaptive training course, the CrossFit specialty course, adaptive training. And then when the specialty course is split, we became our own organization, still providing that education. So the education is there to empower trainers, mainly CrossFit trainers, to be able to provide adaptive and inclusive fitness for anybody who walks or rolls into their gym. And that is really the goal, is to make it more inclusive. So we still do that. Our base is providing education to trainers and athletes. We get a lot of physical therapists as well coming in to make fitness more inclusive, because people may understand how to do rehab as a physical therapist, and they may understand how to scale for different types of athletes coming to the gym based on fitness levels or minor injuries, but they may not truly understand how to work with somebody who has an amputation or congenital dysmelia like Casey has, or cerebral palsy, or vision impairment. So our course provides that base kind of level 1 style understanding of how to work with people with disabilities. You definitely need to practice your craft to be good at it. It's just the same thing as level 1. Like, just because you went through the level 1 doesn't mean you're going to be a great CrossFit coach right away. You've got to practice that craft and kind of dig deeper and get into it. But that's what we provide in Adaptive Training Academy. We were operating as a for-profit, and we've just converted to a nonprofit status. So we're excited to be able to start actually building some programs and being able to take in donations to help grow the community. Education is definitely needed for trainers, but then there's also the barriers of starting a program and realistically needing funds to either buy some safety equipment or some adaptive equipment for your gym, and then also to just run those programs. So if you're going to run a specific class, to be able to pay for those coaches, because now that coach really does have a specialty, right? They're a specialist in being able to provide adaptive fitness. They should be able to be provided funds to provide that class. And what we see right now is a lot of gyms doing it, but doing it pro bono, or doing it kind of a free cost to the community. So specifically, we're looking to we have a veteran grant we're already using that is allowing us to provide free funds to trainers who are going to provide services to veterans, and then also provide that gym with an equipment package, and then also provide that gym with some funds to get a program started. So that's what we do in a nutshell, is help create more adaptive training facilities, obviously mainly in the CrossFit sphere, by educating trainers and empowering them to start programs.
Then Casey, what is your role with ATA?
So I am considered a subject matter specialist with ATA. So obviously my realm of specialty is with upper extremity adaptive athletes. And so in the seminar courses, all of the content that has to do with working with upper extremity athletes is kind of where I jump in, and I do the lectures or the workshops or whatever it might be that we have planned for that section.
Looking at the CrossFit Games this year, we kind of talked about some of the things that were new that continued to push the division forward, but something else was what Reebok did with the bonus program and adding the Nano Flex Parfait. Did I say that right? Parfait TR. It's a shoe
I think it's Parafit.
Parafit. Thank you. Correction.
Yeah.
Here, I can pull it up. We can see what it looks like. Casey, I know that you didn't specifically wear this at the CrossFit Games. You wore the X2, but getting some feedback from other athletes in the adaptive division, what was the initial feedback with this new shoe?
Oh, well, I mean, I think for individuals who have, maybe lived their entire lives being different, and, let's say, for example, living in a world that's built for people with two hands, as is the case for me, that, anytime that we see, these large brands wanting to find ways to cater to someone like us, it's appreciated, and it's exciting, and it feels good to know that there are brands out there that are really thinking about this, and yes, though we may not be the largest market or the largest population of people in the world to try to market products to, it's certainly can be commended to Reebok that they're making an effort to create products that are inclusive, and that are going to maybe give some people the opportunity to live a little bit more of a natural life in their day-to-day, where they have some things that are built for them, rather than always having to change the way that they do everything specifically for themselves.
Well, I think it's so cool because they do have all of these different color options too. And just seeing athletes in all of the divisions be able to be part of this program and have something that they can represent while they're out on the floor. Casey, you specifically took home, I think, $8,400 just from the Reebok bonus program alone. How cool was that?
It's great. To say that I compete in CrossFit for the money would be a total misrepresentation, considering I competed for 6 or 7 years before there was ever a competition that had a prize package that even put me in the positive. Up until the CrossFit Games, every competition that I've ever done has been we've been in the red on the expense to reward ledger. So it makes being able to continue doing this as a way for both me to express my passion for competing and my passion for training more possible, as well as getting to represent the adaptive community and make this a legitimate competition where the athletes feel like they're really training for a prize that's worthwhile.
Well, sure, because I can imagine that it makes it puts you on a similar playing field where this is a professional sport and professional athletes should be compensated, because you don't go to the CrossFit Games for free. You got to pay for whether it's gas, whether it's a flight, hotel, all of these little things. So, did that this year help offset some of those costs that you otherwise, like you said, would have been in the red?
Absolutely. It's even I'm lucky that I live close enough to Madison to be able to drive. I don't have to fly, so that's one expense. But I'm also I bring my family and other I have in-laws that come with me, and
cool.
so the whole thing is yes, it's expensive. You have food, and you have your lodging. And yeah, I mean, in the past, it's always been you're taking on those expenses just to have the opportunity to compete, and you're just accepting that for the time being. That's what the situation was. And is this ever going to be something that could be a full-time job like it is for some of the higher level athletes? Probably not, and that's okay. But what this does for myself, and I know for a lot of other athletes, is it gives us some funds that then we can put into other off-season competitions or other things, or I know for myself, a lot of this prize money will go into just kind of like saving it for next year to cover and handle some of those expenses for next season as well.
When we're looking at next season, do you have certain off-season competitions that you're already looking at? Maybe some online qualifiers? Have you registered for anything?
Yeah. There's a handful of other adaptive competitions that I participated in for several years. So Wadapalooza has an adaptive division that I'll compete in again. Those qualifiers, unfortunately, are coming up kind of soon. I probably need to pick my training up just a little bit.
I know you said you were picking and choosing the things that you wanted to do right now.
So that I can at least survive through those qualifiers. And then Wheel Wad as well. The Wheel Wad Games are in North Carolina in December. I'll compete in those. Those are the only two that I have on my radar for right now, because really from competition in December, competition in January for Wadapalooza, and then after that it's back to game season. Yeah, so yeah.
It'll be here before we know it. It seems like the holidays happen and then you blink and it's like,
ready.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hopefully we didn't eat too much pie at Christmas. Yeah. Alec, for you, another way that Reebok worked with the adaptive community was through donations. They donated $50K to the Adaptive Training Academy. Where do some of those funds go towards? How will it be utilized?
Well, it was great. I'm very thankful for that. And not only the donation, but how it's going to be used. So there was no contingencies on that. So that was basically use it how you see best. And I was like, okay, like they could have easily said, hey, here's $50K. Now you have to give that, and everybody has to buy our shoes with that donation. Something self-serving, but really they just want to help support the adaptive community and the growth of adaptive training at the affiliate level, so that sport can be an opportunity and expression of fitness if people want to. But working with them, we're going to develop a scholarship program that'll help train trainers. So get some trainers through the course so they're ready to work with people with disabilities, but also fund some equipment packages, some safety, and some basic equipment that gyms may add to their arsenal in their gym for adaptive athletes to go into the program. And actually the same thing, get some funds so that gyms can start programs. So really it's to, at the grassroots level, start adaptive training programs at affiliates wherever we decide that they will be. So still working with Reebok to really develop that, but they're really open to however we want to use it best. And they want to put that funds right into the community. And we're all about that too.
When thinking about like putting it back into the community and trying to get like CrossFit coaches certified this way, where do you see this taking the sport? We'll look a little bit long term, 10 years from now.
Yeah, I mean, it first starts with training, right? So like competition is nice. It's nice to be able to have an outlet for your sport to compete. But really, it's the daily fitness, it's the health, the long time training that's necessary for people with disabilities, and that needs to occur in every city, town, country there is. So getting gyms more accessible, getting trainers into gyms so that people can come and know that there's a safe and effective place for them to train. That's what's necessary first. The sport of CrossFit will grow when the training grows, right? Like you don't just get competitors out of nowhere and then reverse engineer it backwards, and now people start training at gyms. I mean, I take that back. There will be some of that because I'm excited to see some Paralympians, people, athletes in other sports looking over and going, wait, I can do my sport like a couple months a year, but I can also just train CrossFit and get good at this and have another opportunity to compete. But aside from those few instances, really it's growing training, growing daily fitness and health training at the affiliate level, which will grow the sport of CrossFit, and also other competitions, from your local neighborhood competition to things like Wadapalooza or French Throwdown. Lowlands Throwdown this year added an adaptive division, and it was small. It was like 10 athletes, and it was run more of it as an exhibition because there was only 10. But still, that's a great way to start to get people seeing other people with disabilities, competing, and what you can do even though you have a disability. And so just that growth from training all the way up through low-level competitions will grow the sport as well.
Casey, you have 2 wins under your belt, probably feeling pretty good. When you look at the 2023 season, what is the biggest thing that you want to see that's added to the adaptive division?
A competitor for Casey. somebody to compete against.
Yeah, I mean, in all fairness, what I've tried to always tell people, and I've been, making sure I'm almost kind of disclaiming this, that every event that I won, there was someone pretty close to me in my division. So I'm definitely being challenged. So the athletes, Alec, don't tell them that. They're doing fine. No one needs to get any better. I'm getting pushed every single workout that I go into.
Just enough.
I'm saying to myself, man, this guy over here could do really well here. This guy could definitely push me. So I still feel like I've got to be, on my game in every one. I mean, I always say, like, for me, the more the better. So I would love to see, us get to do upwards of this year we did 8 events. I would love for us to get to do 9 or 10 events and really, really challenge the, the capacity and the grit at a similar level to some of the elite athletes. And of course, like Alec mentioned, you're limited on floor space and heat times and that thing. So, I'm totally understanding of that. And I was happy that this year from year 1, we did 7 events. Year 2, we did 8 events. So it's continuing to grow. I mean, I think in the future, I would love to see not only the total number of divisions competing at the games to increase, but also the athletes within each division. I would love and think that it would be an even higher quality and more competitive competition if 8 or 10 athletes from each division were able to compete. And then other than that, I just, like I said, I love any type of challenge. So the new implements, the odd things, I love that we got to do one of the same workouts that the elite divisions did. So I would love to continue seeing some events that have some congruency with what they're doing. I mean, whatever it is, throw it at me. I'm willing to give it a go.
Okay, Alec, what is the carrot that you can give to us? What's being worked on for 2023?
I mean, all of those things are known. All of those, everybody wants representation of every division at every stage of competition. That's 100% a known and wanted thing. I agree with Casey too. If I could wave my magic wand and let's say we can't add more divisions, I would love to see the number of athletes in the finals raised up to like 10 or so, because it's there's only 5 in every division competing, and 5. If you look back to the 2020 games when we did that during COVID for the individuals, you can kind of coast in some events where your placement out of 5 people, out of 4 other people. If you're in a running event, you can look and see, oh, this person's way ahead of me, this person's way behind me. I can slow down and coast here at the final. But if you have 10 people, there's going to be specialists across those 10 people at every event, like Casey was saying. So there may be like a running endurance event where somebody is a runner. They're expected to win that one event, and that's going to be pushing all of the top level of competitors, right? And then there's going to be a heavy lifting event, and then somebody else who's not great at endurance is probably going to win that event because that's their specialist, and that's going to be pushing all of the top level competitors, even if those 2 athletes are in the bottom third or something like that. So I'd love to see some more athletes in the finals. Of course, representation at every stage as well, for sure.
Well, Casey, Alec, thank you guys so much for catching up with us. Casey, again, congratulations.
Thank you.
Big accomplishment. And we will see you at Wadapalooza.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Take care, guys.